Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating and honestly pretty provocative piece by Tim Dettmers. It's called Why AGI Will Not Happen. And what he argues is kind of mind-blowing, that our entire vision for the future of AI might be built on a fundamental misunderstanding of reality itself. So let's start with the hype. All right, so let's kick things off by talking about this huge clash, right? On one side, you have all the incredible hype around artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And on the other side, well, you have the cold, hard, unchangeable laws of physics. You know the story, right? As Dettmers points out, there's this powerful narrative, especially in tech circles, that AGI is always just around the corner. It's an idea that just gets repeated and amplified until it feels like a fact. But it rarely gets seriously questioned. So let's ask the question. This right here is the central question Dettmers is asking. What if this belief isn't just a little too optimistic? What if it's fundamentally ignoring the basic rules of how our universe actually works? What if AI isn't just some abstract idea floating in the cloud, but something physical? And here's the crucial point. Computation isn't magic. It's not a spell you cast. It's a real physical process that needs energy. It takes up space, and it's bound by the laws of our universe. You can't just wish for more computing power. You have to physically build it with real materials and real energy. This contrast really gets to the heart of the whole argument. In this idea space, we imagine AGI as this limitless, almost godlike concept. But back here on planet Earth, every single calculation has a price tag, a cost in energy, in materials, and in time. Dettmers offers this absolutely brilliant analogy from biology, the human brain. The size of our brain, and therefore its potential, is physically limited by the number of calories a mother can provide during pregnancy. See, our own intelligence has hard physical boundaries, and AI is no different. In fact, this physical constraint is now creating a massive wall for the hardware that's supposed to power this AI revolution. And that brings us to the first major barrier to AGI, the hardware itself. The very engines that we're relying on to power AI are, believe it or not, starting to run out of steam. According to Dettmers, 2018 is the year everything changed. We've all gotten used to this idea that computer hardware is always getting cheaper and way more powerful, right? Well, he argues that 2018 was the year the free lunch ended. Since then, the cost for getting more raw performance has basically flatlined. Now, the improvements we have seen are what he calls one-off gains. These were really brilliant tricks, like using numbers with less precision or building specialized cores that squeezed out a ton more efficiency. But here's the thing, it was a finite bag of tricks, and we've now used most of them up. So the bottom line is, we've pretty much hit a wall. From here on out, it's all about trade-offs. If you want to improve one aspect of a chip, like how fast it computes, you'll probably have to sacrifice something else, like its memory. There are no more easy wins, and even a hypothetical superintelligence can't change the laws of physics when it comes to manufacturing silicon. Okay, so if the hardware isn't getting dramatically cheaper or faster, what does that do to the big idea that we can just scale our way to AGI by building bigger and bigger models? Well, this is where the math starts to get really, really brutal. Think of it this way. For years, hardware getting better was like having the wind at your back. You could invest $1 million and get $1 million worth of improvement. But now, that wind is gone. To get that same linear improvement, you now have to spend $10 million, then $100 million. It's an exponential cost curve that is completely unsustainable. And this makes those massive billion-dollar data centers being built today an incredibly risky bet. Dettmers points out 3 ways this whole go big strategy could just fall apart. First, a software breakthrough could make smaller models just as powerful. Second, open source tools could make efficiency available to everyone, not just the big guys. And third, a competitor's hardware could simply become a much better deal. So if chasing ever larger models at an ever-growing cost is in the future, then what is? This leads us to the final part of the argument, which contrasts 2 very different philosophies about what AI is actually for. Dettmers lays out 2 approaches. On one hand, you have the dominant U.S. strategy, which is like a high-stakes, winner-take-all race to build a single superintelligence. On the other hand, you have China's approach, which he calls economic diffusion. This is all about practical, widespread application, getting AI into the hands of as many businesses as possible to boost the whole economy. And the core of this pragmatic philosophy is just so simple. Good enough is usually what gets the job done and makes you the most productive. It's not about having the absolute best, most perfect model. It's about having a useful model that provides real value at a reasonable cost. It's pragmatism over perfection. And this brings us right back to the core flaw in the whole idea of superintelligence. The fantasy of an AI that just improves itself forever completely ignores the physical reality we talked about earlier. To get linear, step-by-step improvements, you need an exponential amount of resources. There is no free lunch, not even for a super smart AI. Diminishing returns is a universal law. And finally, Dettmers argues that any true AGI would need to operate in the physical world. I mean, that makes sense, but training robots is incredibly expensive. You can't just scrape the internet for that kind of data. And honestly, the problems that are left, like folding laundry or stocking a shelf perfectly, just aren't valuable enough to justify the billions it would take to solve them. And so, Dettmers leaves us with this really powerful question. Is the future of AI going to be about chasing a fantasy of superintelligence that seems to ignore physics? Or is it about getting down to business and building our reality, using AI to solve real-world problems within real-world constraints? Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. To continue learning with us, please subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. Please also like, comment, and share this overview to help us reach a wider audience. We'll see you next time.